You're now watching a clip from the Inspired by show. You can watch the full episode on our YouTube channel or listen on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. So make sure to head over there, leave us a 5-star rating if you enjoyed it, and follow the show.
I was going to say what happened to the party and all that sort of stuff, because the beauty of living home is like, cool, I've got my own thing and I can kind of do what I want. So you were able to actually still balance all of that of while chasing this higher power. That's really interesting because generally it's, that age, it's almost as if I'm chasing this career and I'm super focused and I've got to really give up this life. Like, how are you actually able to balance both of those?
Yeah. Do you know what it was? I was still trying to prove myself. So my whole childhood, since my parents split, I was constantly trying to prove myself, get the best grades, prove that I could be what they needed because they weren't happy. And I was trying to make them happy. So it just carried on. I was in a challenging situation where I was 18, sat alongside 22-year-olds who had just left university, and I was expected to do the same job, get paid the same. So I was just trying to prove myself. So it was like, if all the graduates can do it, I have to be able to do it. So I was working at weekends, I was partying in the evenings, like in the week. Like there was no 9 till 5 and then weekends I do this. It was all just blurred into life.
Okay.
Spread out over the 7 days.
Makes sense. You keep coming back to sort of like making your parents happy, right? When and how did you make that connection between, your achievement and their happiness?
Now looking back, it's blatantly obvious. But at the time I had no idea. I kept trying to, I think I was telling myself that I was a high achiever for myself. And I just kept thinking that I want to prove to myself that I can do it. But what I noticed, and I'd say in the last, I went through quite a traumatic experience about 7-8 years ago. And I went through a lot of therapy in there. And it was when some of the stuff I was saying, like therapists asking me questions like you are, and me saying, oh, it's because I want to make my parents happy or I want to prove this. And I started listening to myself and I was like, why am I constantly mentioning my parents? And when I was achieving things, like, as you know, like winning my very first award, speaking on my first big event, I was inviting my mum to come along. I would leave the room and I'd ring my dad and be like, Dad, guess what? At the age of 27, I'm like, why am I ringing my parents? And that's when it became so apparent. I was like, I might have had 200 people on stage. I might be on stage, have 200 people in the audience, like standing ovation. That made me happy. But was ringing my dad afterwards, telling him and hearing his reaction gave me the achievement. And it was that realization that I was like, okay, there's something more to this.
And what is that?
It was realizing that I still had a hole that I hadn't healed going through their divorce. I had a hole that I hadn't healed. And I realized actually I need to resolve that issue, that trauma. And I call it little t trauma, in a way of like, it wasn't a massive traumatic event with a capital T. It was a little t trauma because it was still traumatic for me. So I look back and I thought, I need to heal that, go through therapy for that, process that, and then I won't have that need as much. So I still do ring them and I still do say all these amazing, exciting things, but it's not the first thing I feel I need. I still get this, I still feel the success, whether they know about it or not.
So did you kind of feel like if you were successful, like they were going to get back together? Like, how were you processing that?
I think I was, in my head, it was, if I have achievement and I'm successful, they'll be happy. Because I could see both of them weren't happy. Because it was almost like, I've never said this out loud and I've never even thought about it, but popped into my head just now. I think seeing me was a reminder of the pain that they had felt.
That's how you felt?
Yeah, because if my mum was frustrated at my dad, seeing me was a reminder of that. If my dad was upset, because my dad was heartbroken, and I think seeing me, I was a reminder of my mum. They've never told me this. I think I made up this story. And even now we talk about it and both of them say the best thing that ever came out of their marriage was me, and they wouldn't change a thing for it. So I know now that they didn't need me to make them happy, but I think I just wanted to solve things. I just wanted to make them happy so that they would be happy.
It's a heavy burden to carry, right?
Yeah, definitely.